So Mahaprabhu, in the very first verse of Shikshashtakam, he is listing 7 benefits or perfections that arise from chanting the holy name. All of you know them. Just to repeat that Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam is what Mahaprabhu says. This chanting of the holy name is victorious. And why so? Because it gives us these 7 perfections, beginning from Chetodarpanam Archanam. Yes, we've heard this, that it begins with cleansing of this heart. And he says mirror-like heart. So cleansing of this heart, cleansing from what? Yeah, cleansing from, we just discussed yesterday, cleansing from these 3 important aspects. One is the thoughts, another is emotions, another is desire. Yes, the thoughts, emotions, and desires, which are kind of, they've accumulated on our mirror-like heart, like, as dust, obviously contaminating. So transformation of this heart means that we are cleansing all of these 3. Chetodarpanam, and so that we can see ourselves in the mirror. And ourselves means our identity, right? So as of now, because we have been, kind of layered with all of these on our mirror-like heart, we're unable to see our own identity. So the first benefit Mahaprabhu talks about is this. And then he says, Chetodarpanam Archanam Bhava Mahadavagni Nirvapanam. So, when this happens, when this process we keep on following, we get kind of relief from this horrible, miserable material world. Yes, it's like a forest fire, Davagni, and we get some kind of a relief, a respite. Then it says Shreya Kairava Chandrika. So it gives all auspiciousness. Auspiciousness from chanting the holy name is not like the auspiciousness that you get in this world, right? Why? Because this auspiciousness is very absolute. It doesn't have this dual feature that most things have in this material world. To give an example, falling sick is inauspicious for you, but for the doctor, it's auspicious. We've heard this example. So, but the chanting of the holy name is not like that. It's all auspicious. Shreya. Similarly, then he talks about Shreya Kairava Chandrika Vitaranam, Vidyavadhu Jivanam. So it says that this also gives knowledge. And this knowledge is, it just follows. Knowledge, you don't have to make any extra endeavor. It just follows. This is another perfection that we achieve. The 4th one. Vidyavadhu Jivanam, Anandambudhi Vardhanam. So this bliss that we get from chanting keeps on increasing. Yes, so there are different levels of Ananda. Now something which is Bhogananda it's like a drop of water, yeah, where you get some bliss from some pleasures in this world. It's like a drop of water. Then there is another level which is Brahmananda. Which is compared to the water in the hoof print of a calf, a little more than the drop, maybe. But what is Mahaprabhu promising us is Premananda, which is like the ocean. Right? So this is Anand Ambudhi. Ambudhi is an ocean. Vardhanam, it goes on increasing. This is an ever-increasing ocean. Pratipadam Purnamrita Swadha. So this is every step, it's not that, okay, this step is slightly less purifying than the next. Pratipadam Purnamrita Swadha. So like every step is equally purifying. Sarvatma Snapanam Param Vijayate. So it kind of bathes us in this in this ocean, in this nectar. And that's why the chanting of the holy name is Param Vijayate. It's all glorious, it's all triumphant. But having known this, we've been discussing that, well, why is it not really happening to me? Right? So what we've discussed so much on that also. So there's this verse which comes, and some of you have heard from this famous conversation between Yudhishthira Maharaj and Yaksha, and the perfect questions, perfect answers that happens between them on what's most wonderful in this world? This is what Yaksha asks Yudhishthira. What's the most wonderful thing in this world? And what does Yudhishthira Maharaj say? Ahani ahani bhutani gachanti yama mandire. Sheshaha sthavaram icchanti kimascharya matah param, he says. Yes, ahani ahani bhutani. He says day after day, people are going to Yamaloka. But Sheshaha, the remaining ones, sthavaram icchanti. They think they are permanent. We feel that we are glorious exception. We'll be the glorious exception. What's more wonderful than this? What's more ashcharyam than this? But there is another verse that comes in the scriptures. It says there is something more wonderful than this. And I like this verse so much. It says, Sulabhan Bhagavan Nama, Jibhapi Vashavartini, Tathapi Narakam Yanti, Kim Ashcharyam Matah Param. So it says that to take Krishna's names, it's so easy. Sulabhan Bhagavan Nama, Jibhacha Vashavartini. Krishna has fixed this tongue into our mouth to take these names. Even then, people manage to go to hell. What's more surprising than this? What's more wonderful? What's more ashcharyam than this? Isn't it? So, given this introduction, I want to share something which I've heard on a very important topic as to why, this particular process of japa, chanting the holy name, does not give out the results to us as explained in the Shikshashtakam again, when Mahaprabhu says, Nayanam galada shrudharaya, vadanam gadgada rudhayagira. Yes, he says this. He says, when will that, when will it happen? When I feel choked up, when my hair stands on end, all this. And we don't experience much of all this. So, drawing from a conversation between Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Ramananda Raya from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya-lila, I linked to this. It's of course something from what I have heard. Very important topic of discussion that ensues here in this particular chapter, chapter 8 of Madhya-lila, is when Mahaprabhu takes the role of a student and he appoints Ramananda Rai as the teacher. And what does the student ask? He says, please tell me the goal. What's the goal of life? And, to talk about this goal, it's very interesting, which I'll come to. But Ramananda Rai is, of course, very grateful that Mahaprabhu is using him as an instrument to speak about such an elevated topic. But he starts with a very interesting, answer. He says, the goal of life is to follow Varnashrama Dharma. He says, what is Varnashrama Dharma? Varnashrama Dharma is when you're following your duties and you're good. You're a good person, yes. And normally if you ask people, that's what it is, isn't it? The goal of spirituality, people would say, is that you're a good person. You're a nice person with no bad habits and this and that. The goal of Varnashrama. The goal is Varnashrama, to be a good person. Mahaprabhu immediately rejects it. And he says, Eho bhai. This is external. Varnashrama cannot be the goal. Being good is not the goal. Tell me more. So this, all of you have in school probably heard Alice in Wonderland. Yes, this is a very interesting story by Lewis Carroll. And there, this little girl, Alice, she gets into a wonderland, yes? And there she meets a cat, Cheshire cat, his name is Cheshire. And he's supposed to be very wise. So Alice, she asks him, tell me the way, show me the way. So the cat, being very wise, he says, where do you want to go? So Alice replies, wherever, whichever. So then when Alice says that, Cheshire cat says, if you want to go wherever, then take whichever path. If you go long enough, you will reach wherever. Yes, this conversation between Alice and this cat is not the same as Mahaprabhu and Ramananda Raya. But what do we understand is just this much, that unless and until our goal is there, it's very hard to decide the path. Correct? So in a way, we all feel that our present dictates the future, which is true. Our present dictates the future. But it's also equally true that our future dictates our present. Right? So our future, as in the goal, will also dictate our present. I heard Guru Maharaj saying that we are living in a civilization where there is a lot of focus on how. But rarely we talk about what for. Yes, we talk about how, but we don't talk about what for. So we go to the moon. Yeah, everybody is really excited to go to the moon. What for? That's something questionable. We're living in that kind of a civilization. So coming back to this conversation between Mahaprabhu and Ramananda Raya, what we see is Ramananda Raya is giving different answers to Mahaprabhu, explaining the goal. And Mahaprabhu goes on rejecting one after the other. After talking about Varnashma, which we all understand, okay, he rejects Varnashma, as in he doesn't reject it as a principle, he rejects it as a goal. The next level Ramananda Raya goes to, he says, okay, it's actually Yat karoshi yadashnas. Whatever you do it as an offering for Krishna. And we would feel that, yeah, I think this is the right answer. But Mahaprabhu rejects this also as bahya. He says, this is external. Tell me more. It's very interesting, this conversation. It actually came as an eye-opener. Very, very interesting. Then next Ramananda Raya gives the answer as Sarva dharman parityaja mam ekam sharanam praja. Give up everything and surrender. And we would say, yes, I think now he has hit the nail. But Mahaprabhu calls this also bahya. He says this is also external, and we start wondering, what is it there? Okay. So very nicely it's explained that why all of these are externals, because it has really nothing to do with us, our nature. It's only when, now the next answer, Ramananda Raya talks about Mishra Bhakti. And then he says, okay, pure devotional service. He says, Brahma Bhuta Prasannatmana Shochati Na Kamshati. And he says, Bhaktin Param, yes, perfect, pure devotional service. And this also, Mahaprabhu says as Bahya. When does Mahaprabhu get little, he says, okay, when does he say that, very nice, like one point where Ramananda Raya finally says that we have to listen to those people who have this pure devotional service as their goal. And this, when Ramananda Raya says this, then Mahaprabhu says, yeah, all right. This, the eho hoy, he says. He says, till now he was saying eho bahya. And now he says eho hoy. He says, yes, all right. But tell me more. So then Ramananda Raya, now he begins to explain this, how he takes us on a progressive path of what can our goal be. But it begins with what? It begins with only this. It begins with understanding that love for Krishna, which, we every day we say this, when we talk about the 10 offenses of the holy name, and we say that love for Krishna, that's the goal. But we don't relate to that goal yet. Therefore, we need to get this goal from someone who has that as the goal. Therefore, in our movement, there is so much emphasis on sadhu sangha. There is so much emphasis on hearing and reading. Right? There is so much emphasis on chanting Krishna's names. Because it is only through this that we get some form of experience as to what our goal can be. And we feel that, yeah, this can be my goal. Otherwise, it is something which is not relatable. We don't have any form of love for Krishna yet, but we can get it from somebody who experiences this. And we ourselves get glimpses of these experiences, like when we are in Vrindavan, when we're standing in front of deities or in Parikrama, we get glimpses of these experiences, or when we are listening to a class, or when we are chanting Krishna's name. So we get glimpses of these experiences. But sometimes there is a danger that we kind of underrate these experiences in the sense that we ignore them and we still rely on other experiences, which we feel are very practical. What am I trying to say is these experiences are giving a glimpse of what our spiritual goal should be, what our goal in life should be. Yes, that all of us want to be just happy. And to understand that love for Krishna, or developing love for Krishna, it's only that's going to give us happiness, is a very big thing. It's very difficult to comprehend this goal and accept it, that happiness only comes from there. But it is possible only when we associate, when we hear, and then in that when that goal is in front of us, then Mahaprabhu is not asking for ways. This is way we will figure out, isn't it? When somebody sets something as the goal, the ways we figure out, right? Even when students, you might put them into these classes and those Allen and this and that, but if the child doesn't know what the goal is, it's just confusing. They don't know what to do about all of this. Similarly, it's hard enough to place this goal, but what's even harder is to make that goal as your goal. And that's possible only when we have an intense desire to get that goal from someone who has it. And that's what Ramananda Rai finally says, that the only price that you have to pay is to develop intense greed. That, oh, I wish I had that goal. And that comes when we are going through the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam. We get a glimpse of, oh, what kind of love do the inhabitants of Vrindavan have for Krishna? So it's so happy. So maybe I can also have that kind of goal. That's the purport or the complete summary of this particular conversation. And what I would like to emphasize here is this, that unless we have the goal, we won't know what for are we doing japa every day. And then we commit offenses, and then we are inattentive, and then all of that. Right? So we all often give reasons as offenses and inattention to not experiencing the benefits of japa. But the underlying fact is we don't have the goal at all. If we have the goal, we will figure out, or we'll make an effort, we'll develop this greed. Right? So the last concluding part, I would like to just bring into your attention that this goal is blurred because of what? Because of Raga, Bhaya, Krodha, which Krishna so clearly tells. Vita Raga, Bhaya, Krodha. He says, giving up these three things. Raga, Bhaya, and Krodha. These three things, they blur the goal. Yes, attachment and kind of fear when there is any impediment to that attachment, or anger when when that obstacle is too overwhelming, we're angry. It's these three. So on the one end of the spectrum is these emotions, very materialistic emotions, Raga, Bhaya, Krodha. Yes, we're so overwhelmed with these emotions. And on the other end of the spectrum, what are we saying? Are the emotions, spiritual emotions explained in the Shikshashtakam and elsewhere, of spiritual ecstasy. But we are here and we are supposed to be going here. So is there a way? How do we progress on this path? Yes. So very nicely, I heard this very nice from my Guru Maharaj, that the way we progress from this side of the spectrum to this, there is one emotion that helps us go this path, that is of gratitude. This emotion of gratitude will help us kind of transcend these emotions where we are very mundane, inferior, kind of pointless. But gratitude, which is along with, gratitude brings about duty. These are the emotions which gradually take us to the emotions that Mahaprabhu, the results that Mahaprabhu is promising us, right? For that, the goal has to be very clear. And so I think I can conclude here, and I request all of you to contemplate on this and also help me contemplate on this. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mataji, for touching a totally different viewpoint of, how it is very important for us to always remember the goal of our spiritual life and for chanting specifically. Because it's only when we don't remember the goal, then, we may be inattentive, we may be casual in our angas of sadhana bhakti, of which most important is chanting. And also highlighting the point that how gratitude plays an important role to transform the emotions, kind of from material emotions to spiritual, Thank you very much. I just want to check if anyone has any comment or question for Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah. So the question I have is, thank you, Mataji. I think this is totally different perspective, which you brought from Chaitanya Sikshastakam. I have never heard so far. So I have one question. In Bhagavad Gita 12th chapter, Krishna talks about what is the ultimate state of Bhakti Yoga. He defines the hierarchy, and in verse number 8, he says that you fix your mind and intelligence, merge your mind and intelligence with me, so that, there is nothing like your intelligence or your mind. Everything comes from Krishna. So that is the ultimate devotional service Krishna has explained. How do you correlate this conversation with that?
Thank you. Thank you, Prabhuji. Yes, you have very nicely, we call this in education, we call this as interdisciplinary, cross-disciplinary. Very nicely, you're going from one book to the other and comparing the teaching. And it's true, it's right. That's how it is. Even in Srimad Bhagavatam, if you see, there is a verse which will talk about Savai Pumsam Paro Dharmo Yato Bhaktiradhokshaje Ahaituki Apratihata Yayatma Suprasidati. It talks about, a bhakti which is Ahaituki and Apratihata. At the same time, it also talks about Akama Sarva Kamo Va Moksha Kamo Dharadihi Tivrena Bhakti Yogena Yajeta Purusham Param. Yes, it says, doesn't matter. You have motive, desires, you don't have desires, just worship the Supreme Lord. Right. So we have these kind of levels. Exactly what the conversation is talking about. That when you keep a goal which you cannot relate to, then that's something which is unachievable. It's somebody else's goal. So therefore, you begin to kind of get laxed in your practices, because the goal is becoming is not there in the first place. Forget about becoming blurred. And therefore, you have to, Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, the verses that you have mentioned, is giving us goals which we can set for ourselves. But understand that there is a supreme goal, right? Understand there is something which is, and Krishna time and again in the Bhagavad Gita, he tells this, according to me, he says, this is my opinion. Yes, he says, okay, this is all that, but according to my opinion, this is the highest, this is the best. So we should understand that there is something best, but there is also something which we can achieve gradually. Is that okay?
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. Thank you so much. It was very nice. I have this, your conclusion part where our emotions can be drawn from our place to our goal through the medium of gratitude. So my question here was, So because of my conditioning, sometimes we will be grateful for what we have received and things what is happening in our life or towards the people or devotees. But at the same time, due to pride and our false tendencies, again we will be doing some uh, issues, or we have some issues with some people, or even with Krishna, I can say. At parts, we will be very grateful for what we have received. At sometimes, we won't even recognize what we have got. So, how to maintain this consistency of gratitude, and how do we daily practice that in our life?
Thank you. I think we have discussed this earlier, Mataji, when you shared that you are, in fact, following a very nice practice of maintaining a gratitude journal. Yes, you maintain a gratitude journal. So that in itself, is a very nice practice to keep this steady. Obviously, all our spiritual emotions, they are going up and down in as much as our mundane emotions are going up and down, right? So when the mundane emotion is going up, the spiritual emotion is down. They're completely inversely related to each other. So gratitude is kind of a conscious effort to reverse that graph. And in order to keep it consistent, I think what is important is follow a practice. If it's so difficult, follow a practice externally. Yes. So we have seen from our acharyas how Raghunath Das Goswami used to give obeisances so many number of times to so many Vaishnavas. He had made that as a vow. It's conscious effort. Even all of the practices which are given to us, if we make it as a conscious effort, then the hope is that they become part of us, our natures. Because like I began with, the transformation of the heart is at 3 levels, right? Thoughts, emotions, and desires. So the first thing of thought, yesterday I was giving this example that when this boy who was in Shiva Sangan, who was drinking milk only. And Mahaprabhu, what happened? Mahaprabhu immediately noticed that there's somebody who's not supposed to be here, is contaminating, throw him out. And this boy, though others were trying to, appeal to Mahaprabhu that, no, this, is so good. He is very nice brahmachari. He only drinks milk. Mahaprabhu rejected it and says that I don't want a milk drinking brahmachari. Milk will contaminate my, my chanting of the holy name here. So throws him out. But where does the, turning of tables happen? When this boy goes out with the feeling that, yes, actually, I don't deserve it. Actually, what big deal have I done? And at that point, Mahaprabhu calls him back. Not when he was proud about, right? So that became his nature. That's a change of thought. So I feel that gratitude, when you do it externally, it's good. You please practice gratitude in every which way you can. Giving pranam, saying in words, writing down in your diary, all of these things we do, so that at some point it becomes our nature and that thought is transformed. There is a cleansing of that thought, just as this particular example. Does that answer you?
Yes, Mataji. Yeah, very nice. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone else has any question or comment? Okay, I don't see any hand being raised and unmuted line. So here we like to end the session. Thank you very much, Mataji, for taking us through today's Japa talk. Really appreciate your support. Thank you.
Madhumati Pushkarni Mataji.
Jai.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.